What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love, The Last Resort. This is the reunion part 1, and there are a few things that need to be unpacked, and some people need to be addressed. So let's go ahead and talk about this episode. So, we actually opened the episode up with Tommy addressing Alicia, and he's basically congratulating her on her pregnancy. And, she's talking about how she found some guy and they're in love and all this stuff. And I'm like, is that really where we're going to end this? Like, Tommy was trying to crack jokes about, is one of the guys here the baby's father? But I'm like, no, why aren't we questioning her on why did she actually participate knowing she was pregnant? Like, we have all found out that Alicia was pregnant prior to going on the show. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on that situation there. But then that leads us into talking to Brian. They talk about how Brian, he's always joking, how he makes up words and all this crap. And they basically asked him if he would have done anything differently. And he says that he wouldn't have left any gray areas in the Alicia situation. And Tommy then, he goes to Alex and asks her what attracted her to Brian. And she says, the humor and that he was super charming. And I get it. When you find a guy and you think that he's funny, he's someone you can be really comfortable with and all this stuff, who would have ever thought that Brian would end up being the way he was? He did apologize though for her misinterpreting his humor. And I'm like, no, she didn't misinterpret your humor. You just were an a-hole the entire time when she was being actually open with you and trying to have a serious conversation. Like I said in my previous reviews, I think that Brian came on the show to see what ladies were out there and to see if he could possibly hook up with one of these ladies. I'm just sorry, that's the vibe that I get from him. I don't think he was seriously looking for love. So when things got to get serious and when she's opening up about, her being in an abusive relationship, he's not ready to have those type of conversations. Like, let's be clear. This is Brian that we're talking about. I don't see him being that type of guy at all, being ready to handle those type of conversations. So, she ends up bringing up how he allegedly has a baby on the way. And he's like, oh no, that's fake news. Why would you bring that up? That's irrelevant. And I'm like, girl, you dodged a bullet, okay? So, we next end up talking to Simone. And this was actually about, that conversation, well, not even the conversation, when she saw Jay and Winter go into that room together, and then how that led to her telling Joy and all that drama right there. So, the show decides to show us, the viewers, a never-before-seen clip of the conversation when Joy and Winter decided to talk to Simone about what she saw and how she came to Joy about it. We see a clip of Winter storming outside, boo-hoo crying. Jay so happened to be outside, and she was having a full-on breakdown. And at the same time, we see Simone in the confessional saying that Jay was sparing the other ladies' feelings, as in Joy and Winter, while basically keeping her in private. Now, keep in mind, this whole time we've watched this show, we did see him have a few conversations with Simone, but we didn't think that it was as deep as what it really was. Jay was a whole nother person, okay? So, we then see another never-before-seen clip of Simone talking to Jay, and she admits that her behavior was super childish, but his response was the only way to solve the problem was for them to go on a date. Excuse me? Because all the footage that we saw as viewers was him telling Winter and Joy that he was off Simone. He wasn't really messing with her like that. Oh, but really, you were offering her a date after this whole situation happened. So, and again, we saw another never before seen clip here. Simone, she was in Tommy's Tavern where all the ladies are, discussing the guys. And she's like, well, I'm not going to be interested in Jay anymore because I'm tired of being his dirty little secret. So while she says this, later on, and again, another never before seen clip, we see there's Winter, Jay, and I think a couple of other people who are sitting around, and Winter is mocking Simone, like, oh, because she was, his dirty little secret. And even Jay is like, nah, she was just tripping, basically. And I'm like, wow, Jay really played a full game here. He gamed up Joy. He gamed up Winter. And we gonna get on that a little bit later, because, baby, ain't no way I would have been playing around with Jay like that. Because I'm just gonna talk about that later. And then he also gamed up Simone, you guys. So, we get back to the reunion setting, and Winter's like, I never knew that Simone was actually in his top. She never knew of Jay, having these offer of dates with Simone after the situation happened. None of those things, okay? So, Jay, he's like, oh yeah, in the beginning she was in my top, but then, all this stuff, he was just BSing. Jay is a finesser, and he's straight up BSing this whole reunion. So basically, Simone is saying that because all three of them were interested in the same guy, she brought it up to Jay, in front of Joy, so that both of them to get clarity. And I understand what Simone was trying to do, because if all three of us are interested in one guy, that's fine. But if there's a possibility that Winter was sleeping with Jay, let's not act like that would not have altered the dynamics of what was going on. Also, I feel like Simone, of course, she was being, I don't even think it was just jealousy. Jealousy definitely played a part in it, but it was also, you're not about to sit up here and make me look like a fool. So I need some clarity on where all of us stand. So she brought it up in front of Joy, but we quickly learned that Joy did not see it any type of way how Simone saw it. So, when she saw how the story got back to other people, that's what Simone felt, that this was getting really messy. Because she felt like when she talked to Joy and Jay, she only talked to Joy and Jay. But when Joy ended up bringing the situation up in front of some other people, that's when it got messy. But Joy is like, no, it got messy when you brought it to me. And I'm like, Joy, hold on. Because technically Simone is right. There is you, Joy, Jay, Simone, and Winter. That is all the people who are interested in this one guy, and he is the center of attention at this point. When you brought that up to that group, that is what embarrassed Winter. I think it was when she thought that, oh shoot, the rest of the cast is going to think I'm out here being a hoe, and the public is going to think I'm out here being a hoe. And I don't want that type of image out there about me. Like, I really think that's how she felt, and that's why she had that big old breakdown. But come to find out with some clips later, girl, what was the whole point of that? I promise I'm gonna get there a little bit later. So as I said, Joy felt that was super messy. And then, Simone is like, well, I trusted that you would have good enough sense to bring this up only to Winter. And you can tell that Joy was taken aback at that point. Joy was pissed off. I did laugh when Simone called Winter and Joy sister wives, because, at a certain point, they were kind of just fighting over the same dudes. You know what I mean? They were fighting over Jay. I'm not fighting over, but they were both interested in Jay, and they both were interested in Edwin at one point. So now, Tommy, he's trying to get in at some point. He wants to hear from Jay. What does Jay have to say? And he's basically saying that, well, he doesn't want his woman to move the way Simone moves, and that there isn't an alignment there. And I'm like, yeah, you're saying that now. But after that whole situation happened, you still tried to take that woman out on a date. Like, you're full of crap, Jay. You're really full of crap. So, Simone, she felt like, she was basically being blamed for all of this, and her intentions weren't bad. And then, we finally hear from Winter, and she doesn't feel like Joy was being messy, but she does feel like they're grown, and it shouldn't matter if Jay came in her room or not, with a shirt on, without a shirt. He was coming from the pool. Like, Simone, you were just jealous. Like, just admit it, but also you wanted some clarity. And she felt like Simone was trying to make her look bad. Like I said, she just doesn't want the public to view her a certain way. We also see, though, while all that's happening, while Winter and Simone is talking, Jay is, whispering to Joy, relax your face. Relax your face. And I was like, maybe they must still be together. But there's definitely a chance that after this reunion, I don't think they will be together. Because if Joy was to stick around with Jay after this reunion, she's crazy. I'm sorry. She is crazy. Because that man can run some game. So, out of nowhere, Simone goes running off stage because she's like, I don't want to cry out here. And because, I can't lie, they were making her seem like she was the crazy one. But I'm like, within this entire situation, all three of y'all was crazy because, Jay had all three of y'all looking crazy because he spit games on all three of y'all to make y'all feel like y'all was special. So, after that, we do hear, what's her name? Joy, she tried to crack a little jokes, oh, give Simone her Oscar or whatever. She says that it was a joke, but I feel like there was just a lot of shade. But Simone, she really needs to, she's just so sensitive, you know what I mean? And I feel like she needs to be surrounded by people that can help her with that. Because every time she asks them, oh, can I get a hug? Can I get a hug? I'm like, girl, who does that? Nobody just randomly asks for hugs. Get a clue and go find you some real friends, because these girls are not it. So, after this, that whole little shenanigan with that group right there, now we're talking to David. And as you guys know, he was booted off, to me, too soon. Because he basically got booted off because of a disagreement that he had with Alicia, which they talked about, and him pointing in Joy's face. But really, he was just talking with his hands. But he did apologize to Joy for that. And then we had the discussion of what him and Alicia were talking about, which is Alicia says that she has to ask the questions about, how is he, being this guy who's supposed to be with her, but she also has children, and would he basically step up to the plate and help with the kids? And she's like, she's the only one who has children on the cast, so she has to ask those type of questions. So then Tommy, he asks, if any of the guys have dated women with children, and Calfani says that, if you're dating a woman with a child, they are a package deal. So then Tommy is like, but where do you start? Do you have to build that up? Or does it just start when you start dating that woman? And of course they're like, no, that's something that you have to build up. And David actually brings a great point. And he's like, if we're not even together like that right now, I probably shouldn't even be worried about meeting with your kids. Like, I am the type of guy, I'm a stand-up guy, and I would definitely take care of the kids, but we're just now getting to know each other. So they basically agreed that it was a misunderstanding, but come to find out, he's actually been hanging out with Alex. That was something that I did not expect. And at first they're just like, oh, we're just friends. And then with Tommy always trying to push for at the end of the reunion for them to have a few people who found love, he ends up asking Alex out on a date and she agrees. And now, you guys, we're going to talk about the Settlers, aka Winter and Anthony. I just was not feeling his little ponytail that he had going. I'm just like, sir, cut it out. So we learned that after the show, they had a few issues where they were talking about finances, and clearly he raised his voice at her, and she was not feeling that. She said that she completely shuts down, when someone is yelling at her. Basically, that's what she said. So they took a break, and now they're kind of sort of back talking because they ran into each other. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying it. First of all, I don't feel like if a person raises their voice, if the argument is getting heated, I don't feel like that's a reason for them to break up. Yes, he may lack strong communication skills, but also I feel like that's something that can be worked on, and for some people that's literally how they talk. I know for sure there's been plenty of times when I'm arguing with somebody and the level just goes up, they go up, I go up, and it becomes like a whole thing. But I don't think that that's really a reason to completely break up with somebody and y'all just completely shut off, y'all don't talk to each other no more, and then y'all randomly run into each other and y'all back talking. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. There's just something about that story I don't believe in. Sorry, because I just never felt like those two were a real thing. So they take a break, and now they are back talking to the couple of four, or whatever they call them, which is Edwin, Winter, Jay, and Joy. Now, did any of you guys notice, though, when they were playing that montage, and it was Edwin, he's sitting next to Winter, she is, super smiley. She, reaches over, grabs his hand, or whatever, and, held his hand for, a moment, and was, super duper happy when she saw that. And I'm just like, girl, you should try to stick it out with Edwin then, if that was the case, because you look way more happy with Edwin than you did with Anthony, who was just on the screen with you. So, Joy says that her connection was stronger with Jay before she left, but Edwin put in more effort. And as we saw, Edwin really took a lot of thought in what he wanted to do, the activities he wanted to do with Joy, what he wanted to say to Joy, the things that he wanted to open up to Joy about. He did put in a lot of effort, while Jay just sat there and told her sweet nothings in her ear. That's literally what he did. And one thing that I kind of gave the side eye to was Edwin saying one thing he would change was consistency with Joy. And I'm like, I don't think that would have changed anything. What I think is that once he opened up about that PTSD, she was kind of off him. Let's be honest. When Joy heard about Edwin having PTSD, her first go-to was like, oh no, see, he needs to go to therapy. I don't think he's ready. You know what I'm saying? And she kind of closed off that door, but she knew that he was a good person and that, you know, even after this, I'm pretty sure they're really good friends, but she definitely shut that door of them possibly having a relationship. And like I've said in my previous reviews, all because Edwin has PTSD, I don't think that that's a reason why he should not find love. Like, the one thing that I really didn't like about this season was that so many people were quick to say, oh, this person isn't ready to find love. This person isn't ready to find love. But I'm like, is it that they're not ready to find love, or that they're looking for a person to help them while they're together? Like, you know, hey, I come with this. Okay, but I'm willing to work on it and still fall in love with you. But yeah, actually, that's going to be a whole other video about how I think this season panned out and how, like, overall, and how the show can be better. So go ahead and be on the lookout for that video. So back to the show, though. We also see that, Jay says that the kiss that he gave Winter on the cheek, he's like, oh, well, a kiss is a kiss. And I'm like, really? Like, that, the next clips that we see, y'all, I promise you, I wasn't ready. I was not ready. Because even Winter says that what we saw on TV is very different than how they were off camera. Honey, when they played those videos, there was definitely a different side of their relationship that I don't think any of us even expected, because the show basically played Winter, made it seem like, girl, you was number 2 the whole time. I know even in my reviews and a bunch of other people's reviews, they're like, Winter, you have been the number 2 girl to everybody. Like, I know for sure that I said it, but when we saw the clip of they were sneaking around in the middle of the night, she walking through the men's hallways and everything, and like they're outside talking, and he's just really connected with her. I mean, I did not expect this at all. So, the thing is that when we see Joy, though, at this point, Joy looked like she was pissed. And she's like, well, you know, I want to hear from Winter. And Winter, you know, she says that he made it seem like it was a hard decision between, you know, the women. And he basically downplayed that, y'all. So she's talking about when he was leaving. And he's like, no, well, my bag was already packed or whatever. And Winter's like, okay. At that point, you could already tell that, like, there's a lot more that I think that Winter could have said. But she's like, you know what? This ain't even worth my time. And I kind of wish that she would have said it, because I'm pretty sure there was a lot to be said about Jay in that moment. Now, I will say this, though. That this whole situation kind of makes me circle back to what's her name? To Simone. So, because Joy basically didn't want to hear anything that Simone had to say. But technically, Simone was onto something, because when she saw Jay go into Winter's room, she's like, that's interesting. Let me just see what Joy thinks about this. Come to find out, he was going in her room all the time, and she was going in his all the time. So technically, Simone was just trying to get some clarity and trying to give Joy a heads up, like, girl, this man ain't the one. If you ask me, Simone, go shoot your shot with Rashid and stop playing. So y'all, this is where it took a turn for me, and I did not expect it. And as much as I think that Denise needs to find some love, Denise also needs to find some help, because this right here was just so out of pocket. So We see that, Denise she gave like this whole emotional speech about Joy told her to tell these people this. And I'm not even gonna lie, the speech wasn't bad. She didn't say anything that was too crazy to me. Like all she was saying was that, for the guys to keep, fighting for the women that they are interested in, and that Joy had made a connection with Edwin and Jay. But we come to find out though that when Joy left, as we saw, clearly she did not have time to come up with a speech or anything like this. And Denise made all that up. Denise just, I don't know, she felt something on her spirit and she just go ahead and ran with it. And the whole cast is shocked that she made all this up. And even Tommy is like, it was very inappropriate for you to do. Joy says that, it's selfish, it's self-centered. And I'm just like, Denise, what made you do that? Like, what came over you that you thought that was okay? Especially once she was like, I just wanted her to have a voice even though she left. It's like, no. Just no. So that pretty much wrapped up the first part of the reunion, and everybody went backstage. Of course, they're talking about Denise like she's crazy. Oh, but here comes our favorite word being brought up, guys. We have Adriana and Rashid is like, that's a narcissist. I'm like, all right, it's coming back to bite Denise in the butt. I mean, I will say this. There was someone who was a narcissist this season. But damn it, it was not Rashid. It was Jay. So, that pretty much wraps up this review. And I am so ready to see the next part of the reunion. So let me know what you guys thought of this reunion. I didn't even talk about what everybody looked like. I'll talk about that on the next one. And yeah, go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.